Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Monster Report, a show highlighting those entertaining creatures of film history. Your host, as always, Nick Adam Poling, and we've got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about the Tucson Kaiju Festival coming up here very soon, so I'll bring in my special guests here in just a minute, and we'll also be talking a little bit of Godzilla news, things about Godzilla -1, and, of course, the Godzilla X Kong from Legendary, things about that, and having a little discussion with our guests on that topic. Those topics. Also, GORGO, because we also our friends from Titanic Creations have been sending out their GORGO units, and hopefully I'll be getting mine soon, but I've been seeing what has been coming out from them and just been real excited. So it is awesome to see that. And so I will bring in our guests for today. First, we have Everett Grond, and you know him as GodzillaFanFreaks. Everett, how you doing?
I'm doing really, really good, Nick. Really happy to be on another episode of the Monster Report with you.
Excellent. And we've got Yosh, Leaf Claw Studios. How you doing, Yosh?
Doing well. Thanks for having us on.
All right. Excellent. We are going to talk about the Kaiju Festival, Tucson Kaiju Festival. Interesting. I'm always trying to type in Tucson, T-U-S. It's not Tucson, it's Tucson. I'm sorry. I just... but they pronounce it Tucson anyways. So you want to go to the Tucson Kaiju Festival, you're going to jump on a plane and get there, because Tucson does have an international airport, and I will be there November 3rd. Tell us the details, time, place, location, costs, all those great things that they can look forward to seeing on November 3rd. Everett.
All right. So the first thing about the Tucson Kaiju Festival, and to get it out of the way, it's completely free. Just show up, walk around, check everything out. It's completely free. No admission, no ticket. Just bring money to spend on our wonderful vendors and our artists. Buy some prints from Yosh here for him doing the poster and everything like that. It's just going to be a fun, fulfilled time. It's going to be at Bookman's East, their East location that's on Speedway in Wilmot. No, if you're familiar with Tucson, November 3rd on Godzilla's birthday, no better day to have the festival. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. Again, we have loads of vendors. We even have the Tucson Roadrunners hockey team is going to have a table down there in their mascot running around. So that's going to be really fun. And it's going to be just a fantastic time. We have video game contests. There's going to be kid kaiju drawing for kids 12 and under. We got trivia contests. I got a couple trivia contests lined up. Nick, you're going to be doing a panel. Chris has a couple panels he wants to do. So GodzillaFan93 is also going to be there. And then another content creator, GodzillaFan85, is also going to be at the Tucson Kaiju Festival. So we're going to have a nice little round out and just atomic blast-filled fun day.
Yep, thank you for saying Atomic Blast, because that reminds me, you want to Atomic Blast, smash that like button. That supports everything we're doing here at the Monster Report. You're supporting Everett with the Tucson Kaiju Festival, and we're just thrilled that you're here. And, of course, in the chat, we have Mr. Alex Martinez. Alex, you're out there. Happy birthday, everyone in the chat.
Happy birthday, buddy.
I think he turned 40 today. Maybe it was 50. I don't know. I could be off by a decade or two. So, yeah. So, Alex, you do have the StreamYard link. You are welcome to join in on the conversation if you would like. You and your dog icon there. So, Alex, good to have you in the chat again. Join us if you would like in the StreamYard. Now, kaiju content creators like yours truly. Alex, you're welcome. Happy big birthday to you. Happy kaiju-sized birthday. So, anyways, kaiju content creators, yours truly, GodzillaFan93. Who was the other one? I'm sorry, GodzillaFan85.
GodzillaFan85.
Yep, awesome to have him there. And you don't have to be a YouTuber or podcaster to be a kaiju content creator. Yosh is a kaiju content creator as well. Yosh, tell us a little about your contribution to the festival and a little about what you do.
Right on. Well, again, thanks for having me. I, in general, am an illustrator. I do everything from painting, inks, and the last years I've been getting into sculpture. In terms of the kaiju aspect of this, I've known Everett for a little bit, and I created. He asked me to create a poster for this event. I was super pumped to do this. So I've endeavored to make sort of an old time kaiju. There we go. Hard for me to. There we go. Can tell.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm like trying to work backwards, and anyway, but I decided to make an old pulp style kaiju poster, and so that's been my role in this. And also, I came up with the art for the flyer. I forgot to get that around here, but yeah. So I kind of have always enjoyed monsters. I've always enjoyed working with sci-fi stuff. So this was right up my alley. It's local here in Tucson. So that's kind of what I've been working on. I have some personal projects, but I can talk about those later. But yeah, that's my connection in this, and just being a fan of kaiju in general.
Yeah, awesome. Looking forward to seeing, of course, you in person there at the festival, seeing your artwork on display. People can purchase prints, I assume, up there?
Absolutely. I'll be selling prints of some kaiju art I've made in the past, and then a couple pieces that are more geared towards just this new show. And depending on time, so I have my own kaiju that I've created, and one of them I have a sculpture of. Depending on time, I will have my first sculpture of this creature, a posable sculpture, and sellable kits of that if I make that in time. But there'll be some art around my own kaiju, basically. So definitely prints and some originals too.
Very cool. So yeah, just like in other other cons that you see out there, you have your artists, you have of course influencers, if you want to call us that. I don't ever consider myself an influencer. I'm just part of the machine, just part of the fan base, like you guys are, and just love what we do. And of course, there's going to be vendors, right?
Yes, we have a lot of vendors, a lot of artists, a lot of local artists, so there's Yosh. I just have my chicken scratch paper here, but we got Yosh, we have MFIV, who he does like a lot of almost like masking tape type sculptures and stuff like that, almost similar to masking tape monsters, if anybody remembers them from G-Fest pasts and whatnot. Tinker Cosplay is also going to be there, and Tinker Cosplay is also going to have a panel. They actually have the first panel of the day. And then, again, just a lot of other local artists, the Tucson Roadrunners. Again, Tucson's hockey team is going to be there. My father is going to be there set up, so he's going to be a vendor and have some special things made for the show. I'm going to have my own table for GodzillaFanFreaks, where my wife and my sister-in-laws will be set up, and my sister-in-law, my young sister-in-law, she's working on like custom like chess boards and chess pieces that are like kind of kaiju-esque related. So she's really getting into the crafty spirit. My wife might be working on a little artwork piece of her own to maybe sell in print. It just depends if she has the time to pump that out. So there's going to be just all different kinds of stuff. And then, of course, if you want kaiju figures, I don't know how big this is, but Titanic Creations is going to be there.
Yes.
So it's just going to be awesome. I'm just really happy to have them on board. Hopefully he has a few Gorgos left to have there at the show, and that'll be a lot of fun. So I think it's just going to be great. We're also going to have some raffle items too. So
yeah, and I know Titanic Creations has other figures other than Gorgo.
Yeah,
he'll have from his own creations, from his own IPs that he's made, and that is going to be awesome to see him there, and all the other vendors that you have. You have at this point a rough schedule or a nearly complete schedule. Just there with us.
Nearly complete. I just have to do a little critiques on it and to polish it off. I got to remove a couple things just to make it a little more self-explanatory, but just to run over the schedule for the day of activities, you guys are hearing it here first. So of course, doors open at 9 a.m. so make sure you're there. Kids kaiju drawing is going to be all day. Ages 12 and under, all participants will receive one free raffle ticket while supplies last, and a main winner will be announced in a YouTube video that I thought would be fun for maybe a Kaiju Chill O'Clock session, and going through all the art pieces and showcasing all these kids' art that they were able to produce. And the parents and whatnot can leave either contact information on the back of the drawing, either phone number or email, so whoever gets chosen can get in contact with them and can either meet up for the main prize, or I can hand deliver it, or whatever works for them. Then there's also going to be kaiju video games all day. My friend Tim and my buddy Lawrence, they're going to be running that little section, and Tim's going to have an emulator running with all different kinds of Godzilla games. And the one big one for the video game contest at 4 p.m., and there's only going to be 8 sign-up slots available for that. So make sure if you want to participate in the video game contest to get on that sheet ASAP. But the video game for the day for that is going to be the Godzilla Kaiju Daikessen, which was only released in Japan on the Super Famicom. So
wow.
Back in the day. So that's going to be our friendly competition contest. And then at 11 a.m., we have Tinker Cosplay, and they're going to be doing a panel about monster masks. They're going to teach and show how to make an EVA foam monster mask, and we'll cover techniques, required tools and materials, and safety. And then at 1 o'clock, we'll have our first trivia contest, which will be Godzilla and Kaiju trivia. At 2 o'clock, Nick is going to be your panel on what is your Kaiju story. And then coming in at 3 p.m., Chris's panel on collecting responsibly, going to be talking about balancing that budget, when to pull the trigger on things and when not to. And then at 4 p.m., of course, the video game contest. Also at 4 p.m., we will also be having the next trivia quiz, which is the Island Quiz. So I created a quiz with one of my fellow friends from G-Fest, Greg, his help, on a bunch of questions of Godzilla islands and monster islands and what is this island from this movie and everything.
Oh my.
So that one's going to be a little bit more for the experienced crowd. That's why it's a little later. And then 6 p.m., we have Chris's other panel about balancing being a YouTube creator and life responsibilities. At 7:15, we'll have the raffle. And then at 8 p.m., the doors will close. So that is our schedule for the day.
Beautiful. Excellent. And when I was going to comment on the video games, I'm very OG. So unless it's the Nintendo Godzilla Monster of Monsters or that little Game Boy puzzle game that was just awful, I'm very out of the loop on Godzilla games. So it will be interesting to see the Japanese Famicom game, because we haven't had that here in the States, and
it's fantastic. If you've never seen it, definitely look it up. It's just a great, like, old school Street Fighter 8-bit, Godzilla fighter. It's just awesome. I love it.
Nice. A friendly like kaiju battle between the kids that will be there, and not taking it personally.
Yep.
when someone gets absolutely blasted by whoever you're playing. And so I'm guessing it's going to be a lot of the Showa monsters and maybe some Heisei. I've never seen it, so I'm
there's Showa and Heisei. Yes.
Yeah,
probably not going to have the chainsaw version of Gigan there.
No.
Wars, and probably not Mega Gyrus, and I don't know. Yeah, probably not going to see Orga in there, because if it was Famicom, we're talking 90s.
Yeah.
So, well, that is cool. I am so looking forward to that. And kind of what I was talking about with you about the panel on what's your kaiju story, because it's like I can talk about myself, but I'd rather hear about other fans. I'd like to hear their first exposure to kaiju movies, whether it was Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, maybe it was Universal Monsters. What got you into monster movies and monster content? Maybe it was in, some of the books that are out there. Maybe it was Gorgo, for instance. Maybe it was something obscure, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms and other Ray Harryhausen's. Everyone has their starting point. And if I find somebody whose starting point was 1933 Kong, That'd be unbelievable, but I've yet to find that person who came from that era, I should say. But that is going to be so much fun.
I'm older than I look. I'm older than I look. So I mean,
Are you the Highlander who's lived through many generations and never ages? Talking about his old buddy, George Washington and Alexander Hamilton.
Listen, he never crossed Delaware. He just said he did.
Right. Yeah. Eyewitness accounts. And oh man. And then talked about that responsible collecting, and it's like, I don't know what that means. I have no clue.
That's how to lose some Washingtons in the Delaware River.
Right. Yes. A lot of Washingtons and Lincolns and Jeffersons and everything in between. So wow. So definitely come ready to buy some stuff from the vendors, from the artists. And speaking of artists, Yosh, let's see some of the other works that you've done, whether it's kaiju related or not.
All right.
Of course, that one we just saw was just amazing. Seeing Baragon looking, I know that's Everett's favorite, right? So
yep, that's exactly what he asked. Yep.
Yeah. You got to see me some Baragon. So yeah, if you got some other artwork you'd like to display for us, we'd like to check it out.
I kind of just brought one thing because other than stuff for this convention and commissions I got to do every month or things I got to stay on top of or other long-term projects, I've had a creature design that I did some years ago and have been working on through the years. And so this is my own IP. This is my own, there's comic work that's in the works around this. And I started off with making some sculptures as reference images, because a lot of realistic artists, they kind of work with photos, sculptures, anything that's real looking that you can observe and stuff like that. So they work with reference, and I'm no different really. So I wanted a sculpture of this creature, and just really didn't, it doesn't exist. So I had to go back to sculpting. I had to kind of rehash and relearn some skills and learn a lot of new mediums. So in the process, I ended up making a very, very first figure, and then I took the parts away, or I took it apart, put wires in between, and a lot like Ray Harryhausen stuff, I wanted to make a positionable sculpture. This doesn't have the head on it, but this was the very, very first attempt. And these are all plastic pieces because I learned how to mold, I learned using silicone, I learned how to cast, how to sculpt in a couple different types of sculpture stuff, but I kind of had to teach myself and look at tutorials and take classes from Stan Winston stuff, like web classes they offer. So whatever resources I could find. So without talking more about it, this is a rough draft sculpture that's it's not done yet. I'm still sculpting the legs, but let me get it in frame. Sorry about that. So this is the creature itself. It is a kaiju-sized bounty hunter. And what I will be doing is I will have a miniature environment with miniature trees and rocks and all that. And this will be painted. This is just a base coat. But what this entailed was building pieces that were maneuverable, that could twist, building something that could hold a position. So this, well, there we go. Sorry. I'm like trying to work backwards because of the mirror effect. But this has the ability to be positioned differently. Everything maneuvers, everything opens. It can twist, it can hold form. And so that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted a maquette that I could do stop motion with, that looked professional, looked clean, well painted. And that's kind of hard to do, and especially if that's not what you do all the time. So this character is named Agmutha. It has regular sized versions in its story, but it does have a kaiju sized version event. Basically, it gets really big. And so it's designed to hunt down monsters bigger than it. And so this would be the bane of a Gigan or something like that. This would be yeah, so that's what I'm out to do. And so for me, it's a big deal as an artist because I've sold paintings, I've sold prints, I've done stuff like that, but I've never sold a sculpture and set out to make a sculpture. So what I wanted to do, I was like, well, if I'm going to make this thing, and it's going to be positionable, and I can do stop motion. Why don't I make it good enough that someone else might want it? And it's okay if nobody does. If nobody buys, a figure of my sculpture, that's fine. I don't ultimately kind of care, but it would be cool if people like this character because I like it. And so what I decided to do was to use everything I learned about molding and to make all the pieces. So this is the mold for the hips. And, you can see the slot in there where the other things go and they get epoxied in. And this is, like the top part. So it's hollow. It has parts for being drilled and connected. And that's the spout hole and the, little bits of flashing. But basically, I can make copies of this, and they don't all have to be as maneuverable. Some people don't. When people buy figures, as you all know, you're not looking for something you can put into 35 poses. My needs as an artist are different from a collector's needs to put something on a shelf and, love the heck out of it and love that you have it. And my goal is to have, a version of this basically that's accessible and, a little bit, it will be positionable, but the legs will probably be stuck in place so that it stands. And yeah, I want to make something beautiful that people are like, oh man, that's awesome, and because I think that. So
that is awesome. Alex agrees. He said he'd buy one.
Hey, thank you. And since I've been sculpting one of my kiddos, Cameron, and Grayson too, they've been making little monsters. So this was Cameron's sculpture of like a crab monster thing, and he made this for me. And so just a shout out to the kiddos. Thank you for being creative, wonderful little beings, and I love you. And Kat, if you're watching this, I love you. And everyone who supports this event and this show and me, thank you. And Nick, Everett, you guys have been amazing. Everett, and I hope I always know you. And yeah, that's my spiel. Thank you for letting me chat for a bit.
What's so cool about that, Yosh and Everett can probably, back me up on this. It's like, not to take away from people who design a figure, but to send it away for the practical to actually get put together. Yosh is doing it himself. It's like, to put together the joints, the posability, the articulation, all of that. Yosh is like, I don't need to send that away. I don't need to outsource that. I could just do it myself, learn the craft. And so did you start with the idea of design first or story for the character?
Usually they kind of come together. A lot of times there'll be an image and I kind of start hashing out a character and why it's built a certain way. Because I used to do a little bit of robotics. I used to do some engineering. I was going to go into that as a field, but art's really what called me more. But the engineering bug in me kind of still exists. So, for the stories, when I build something, I like to build something that could balance. Like if it were real, would it need a tail? Would it need to be offset? So I think about what environment did this thing kind of evolve in or be made in if it's a, monster that was created. So stories often go with kind of like, what's it fighting against and why? And then I get questions about, okay, if I design it this way, like, can it turn into something else? And so I think there's so this definitely has a story that's woven in, and I'm looking forward to like telling that in the comic. But yeah, sometimes I just will get an image and I'm like, oh, that's cool, but I don't have anything to go with it, So.
Yeah, and I was going to ask Everett, because you've been into like the Gundam model building recently, kind of as a, if I had to assume, it sounds like it's kind of like therapeutic for you.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And the crazy thing is I used to not be into model kit building at all. Like when I was younger, my dad every now and then would try to get me into it with either, a car or something like that. And then even, being friends with Lawrence for as long as I have been, and because he's showed me the Gundam model kits several times over the years since we've known each other, and I just never was really into it. And just one day I was just like, okay, I'm going to buy a kit, and then I just kind of really got into it. And then just being able to follow the instructions and everything, I was like, it's not as crazy complicated as I thought, because that's what it was. It was just like, I don't know if I really just want to deal with all the small pieces, putting them together. But once I tried it, I was hooked. And I kind of stick to a certain scale. Like there are other grades out there for those kits that I do stay away from because it's like, no, I don't want to get into that. Let's keep
30
it
years later, still building it.
exactly. So it's like
I'm part of the problem though, because I bought a couple Gundams. I remember that time. I bought a couple Gundams and or at least one, and I showed you, and you were like, "Oh man, I want to get one of those." And I remember I went over and I snagged you one, and then after that, I remember you were building more, and I'm like, "Yeah."
that was the Leo. Yeah, that was the Leo series. Which that one was a pretty simple build. That one wasn't bad. But yeah, just keeping it to that high grade and master grade. I built my first real grade, and that was a nightmare. I didn't really enjoy that building experience all that much.
Mm-hmm. Well, and, with the Gundams, I don't imagine there's too much of that articulation that where the weight of the physical model doesn't allow for posability. I don't know about the Gundam models because they're probably pretty lightweight, if I had to guess.
They're pretty lightweight. Yeah, they're not very hefty at all.
But like Yosh with your armature there to be able to articulate and then the pieces hold their form. You know, a lot of the times the weight of something is not balanced well enough to get that just right, because then, you know, they're going to lean forward, they're going to lurch forward, or, you know, that body mass, that torso is so heavy that the armature of the legs are not holding its form.
Right.
And you're always kind of like fighting with it to get that balance, and otherwise they're just falling off the shelf. You know, they take the nosedive. But yeah, that was impressive to see how those joints all work together with that armature, because yeah, they had to with stop motion. Stop motion was not easy. Nothing about that was easy.
No, I repurposed for some joints that were just too tricky. I repurposed some Lego joints that were ball and socket, but then I cut them up and I changed them, and then some of them I just cast into, for the precise size, I cast into plastic. So, you know, there's scavenging here that goes on, but in terms of, you know, getting down to the millimeter of, okay, I need to sand this so the joint moves, or stop this, so, you know, like all of that kind of, it gets tedious to the point where it's like, nah, I don't need it to move. It's good. I'm done. You know?
Oh, great. Yeah. And you talked about your kids. Will your kids be at the Kaiju Festival like my son will be?
Hopefully. That's the plan. We'll see. Scheduling is, you know, scheduling.
Sure.
That's the plan. So, and Cameron he's been picking up sculpting like crazy quickly. Like I'll think of something and I'll be like, hey, have you tried this? And he's like, yeah, I tried that yesterday. I'm like, okay. You know, he's both kids, but they love storytelling. They love, you know, creatures and monsters and sci-fi fantasy. So I think this will be fun for them. But
something constructive comes, and if they can come, they can meet my son. Yeah, I can't bring them all. I can't bring all 5, but I can bring the young mini monster report. Stop motion can be a hassle at time, but the end result's so worth it. Just the tediousness of it. That's why I say it's such a lost art. You know, no one has the patience for something as brilliant as stop motion, and as Harryhausen, you know, like to work alone. You know, that amazing work that he did, and all, you know, by himself, not even somebody to just talk to, you know, while he's doing it, at least somebody over there in the corner and be like, you know, how are things going? How's life? You know, something to pass the time. But nope, he liked working alone, and the stories just, you know, came together the way he had envisioned brilliantly, and they knew what they were getting out of someone like him. But yeah. And then they kind of totally just threw that baby out with the bathwater when CGI came in. So regrettably, you know, I remember seeing the sequel, well, not sequel, prequel technically to The Thing they made in 2011. And I think it was Amalgamated Dynamics that did the practicals for it. And when I looked up some of the practical test videos on YouTube, they were exceptionally better than what they CGI'd over. Basically, you know, from the top down, you know, the production company was like, hey, we'll do it this way. And then the investors were like, no, we want CGI. So they CGI'd over it, and it's just, yeah. And I think it ruined it. Yeah. And I think that's been one of my quests. Like, so
going back to this just for a second, this material here, that's just foam. I made foam strips because one of the complex things with this thing here was getting things that would flex and maneuver and still function to kind of look like sinew. And so I found foam that would stretch and do that, and then figuring out how to attach this, and then figuring out how do I paint it, because I put acrylic paint on it, but the acrylic just falls off because it stretches. So I had to get this stuff. You know, I'm not plugging any products, but I basically had to get flexible paint and then find an enamel that I could flex over that. It's so much work, but then the feeling of like, I did this, it works. You know, it's fun.
Yeah, but it's no small task. Yeah, to put it all together, and half of it's
months.
Yeah. So I want to get into a little bit of kaiju news that's happening out there. And if you have any more on the Kaiju Festival, just go ahead and interject. Excuse me, at any point there, and we'll come back to it at the end and make sure you guys get the chance to plug your outlets. But I wanted to bring up this first topic here, that we had the release date for the Godzilla X Kong New Empire pushed back. So let's see here. This is from Godzilla-movies.com. God, whatever. So yeah, they officially delayed about a month. So it was originally going to be March 15th, 2024. Now it's April 12th. So I guess it's in response to the upcoming Dune sequel. I'm guessing this really comes down to the writers' strike and the writers and actors strikes that were happening in Hollywood. What's your guys' kind of reaction to something like this?
You know, if a movie gets pushed back, it's not the end of the world. You know, I want to say this way, I'm more excited about Godzilla -1 than I am Godzilla and Kong New Empire, or whatever it's called. I am more excited about what we are getting this year versus next year. I'm not. I've stated before, I kind of don't have an opinion on the MonsterVerse anymore. It just kind of exists. It's not a favorite, but I'll watch them. You know, they're better than Final Wars. How about that?
Oh wow, Chris, GodzillaFan93. I hope you're listening. Wow. Have you guys been following much with the Hollywood writer's strike and all that nonsense?
Not as much, no.
Yeah.
I don't stay on top of it. I'm aware that it's going on. And, you know, for me, I know that there's some people in the world who are greedy, but I also know that for a lot of artists right now, myself included, there is that uphill battle against entities like corporations and, you know, various production agencies using AI rampantly. And so, you know, it's tough out there for a lot of them. And so I get it, but I'm kind of with Everett, like, we're getting a good movie on some level at some point, and we keep getting them. So, you know, we keep paying for it. They keep making them. And at some point, that's just going to keep going on, you know. But when I first heard of Godzilla -1, I thought Godzilla had an RSVP. But then I saw the trailer, and I was like, holy moly. So I'm kind of with Everett on that one. I am most excited for that.
Yeah. I think, you know, if anything about the MonsterVerse, yeah, it like you said, Everett, it exists. It is Hollywood, so it's kind of stuck to that Hollywood formula. It's got the Hollywood budget, of course. I guess, in my opinion, I was just kind of hoping that nothing would really affect this because, you know, I feel the saturation and fatigue of what Hollywood has been putting out, what Disney has been putting out, with the nonsense of Marvel and Star Wars. It's just not hit its mark. And I was really hoping that maybe the MonsterVerse would start creeping in. Not that it would become a replacement for something as huge as the MCU or the DCU or anything to that effect, but that the MonsterVerse would start edging into the fandoms outside of itself to bring in new fans. And maybe, again, like anything else, you know, more Hollywood blockbusters to feature kaiju. Necessarily, you know, pre-existing kaiju that we know, or kaiju. You know, there's just not been any originals in a long time, and
Pacific Rim was like, I liked Pacific Rim a lot, but they didn't. You know, that was kind of like a 1-2 off, basically. You know, with some animation. So
10 years ago, can you believe that?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, yes, I would agree. Pacific Rim, but I mean, 10 years. How many Marvel movies have been in between now and then, and how many DC movies per year were coming out? And I'm just like, yeah, what is, you know, some of the even the Star Wars films? I haven't seen, you know, anything that's just really to write home about, with the exception, in my opinion, and this is mine only, Rogue One. You know, I really appreciated what they did, but the sequel trilogy, other than that one, I'd say, yeah, I really wasn't impressed with what they were doing. And then I kind of checked out after Avengers anyways with the MCU. So yeah, I just am saying, you know, here is an opportunity for a new you know, whatever you want to call it, extended universe. And so, yeah, that's kind of that news. There's not much really to say on that one, but we were talking about -1. So let me bring up this news about -1 here. So we had 2 IPs that make no sense to each other, Beyonce and Godzilla. And so essentially, if this story is true, which as I understand it, it is, that we will not be getting an IMAX release of Godzilla -1 in the States due to a concert film from Beyonce. And so, man, I don't know.
Jeez.
Obviously, you know my opinions here, but
Wow.
I'm sure there's a lot of fans that I'm not a part of that fandom. I'm guessing there's a lot of music fans that are happy. I'd rather see Godzilla personally, but that's just me.
For real.
This story was at least the discovery was made by Yogo Higuchi on Twitter. Higuchi is known to have worked on the Toho's 2016 Shin Godzilla as a production assistant. And so, yeah, I guess the Fandango event will be IMAX. And I just kind of say this. How many concert movies do you know?
Musical,
yeah.
There's music that kind of
Zero.
musicals kind of count. Musicals kind of count. But, you know, personally, I don't really see things in IMAX anyway. So to me, it's just like, okay, I'm going to go to a theater and see it and have actual money left over for popcorn. But I could totally see how someone who cared about seeing it in IMAX, yeah, that would make sense. That would be a bummer.
Well, and one's a special effects, you know,
Yeah.
special effects, and the other is everything in camera. Yes, they're going to be shooting it in the aspect ratio of IMAX, but I also looked at it this way: do we not have enough IMAX screens in the nation?
Right. Do both.
Do both. Yeah.
Usually when you go to a theater, you know, you have the 2 different sides. There's usually, unless it's a massive theater, there's usually 1 to 2 IMAX theaters like on each side. So
yeah, I don't get it either. I guess they just don't want to give the you know, the chance for this foreign film to really, you know, strike it gold. But goodness gracious, I mean, this was the opportunity. Like I said before, the writer's strike was happening. It has affected releases from Hollywood, and here is a foreign film that could really do well and reinvigorate some things in the theater for the theater experience. In fact, there's just a ton of stuff out there to see that's just going straight to streaming anyways, or it's got a limited theater release, but then it's in streaming, you know, weeks later, not months later, not like what we used to have. So yeah, Alex has got an opinion on that. It would have been cool to see Godzilla -1 in IMAX. I guess you got to go to Japan for that. And Alex has got a question for you guys. You excited to see Godzilla 2000 in theaters November 1st?
if I have time for it, yes, I will be excited to see it because I remember when that first came to theaters back in the day, and me and my dad never got a chance to go see it. So I would like to see it in theaters, but we'll just see how time works out.
Yeah. Yosh, have you been to those like Fandango events or those, well, I think they're called Fandango events. Those kind of like Shin Ultraman was. It was just a, limited release.
I have not really in my life had much of the time or money to do that stuff. This is, it's kind of interesting. So at this point in my life, I'm approaching 40 and I'm actually starting to get to do things and have the time to do things. So, like the only Godzilla movie I'd ever seen in theaters was the 2014 one. And so now, as things come out, I'm like, oh, I actually have the money for that. So my goal is, catch a few things here and there. But yeah, that's kind of on the docket of stuff to watch. So yeah.
Yeah. It'd be great to see it. It'd be interested to see if they're going to do the dubbed version or the which I imagine they will. If it's called Godzilla 2000. I mean, Everett, don't you think they'll be showing the English? I
think so. Yeah, but I mean, there is a possibility it could be the Japanese release because last year when they did Godzilla against Mechagodzilla for Godzilla Day in the theater, that was the Japanese cut. So.
Yeah, it could very well be. Or like Shin Ultraman, they did one day of subtitled and the other day as dubbed. And my son and I got to see Shin Ultraman as the subtitled version, which didn't faze him at all, even though you're, quickly reading because of the dialogue being so fast in that. So, yeah, it's like, fun to see these things on the big screen. And, if you haven't been to G-Fest, obviously, to see some of these films that they do play on the big screen at the Pickwick Theater. This is cool to see them as well. I guess is it Fandango or Fathom events? I can't remember how they do that, but they're those limited release tickets that they have. Yeah. Seen Rift Tracks do their thing, on the Fathom events as limited releases. You said
those guys.
Have you seen some Rift Tracks?
I've seen recordings of them. I've never seen it live, but I have been a fan of MST3K and Rift Tracks since I was a kid. So at this point, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, they're incredibly funny, and seeing them live, just kind of puts you in a kind of a mood. But then I've seen them on replay before, and they're just as good. So yeah, they're awesome. So Alex, can say that he did get to see Godzilla 2000 when it came out in theaters, so it would be nice to see it in theaters again. Yeah, I missed it. I missed the boat in 2000 to see it as well. Life was busy. I was graduating high school, going to college, and it was just a very, very busy time. But yeah, it'd be awesome to see it in the big screen. It is, in my opinion, one of those Godzilla movies that is a perfect Godzilla movie. The story doesn't need much. It didn't ask for much. It is, it's Godzilla versus another monster, even though the monster isn't in the title of the American version, at least. And you still get that monster action, and you still get the destruction, the military fighting him off, and they don't use the Deus Ex Machina. There is no Deus Ex Machina. They did not come up with any Super X or Oxygen Destroyer or anything to take him out.
MacGuffins.
There were no MacGuffins. There was we're standing back and observing Godzilla and Orga duke it out. Who's going to win? I don't know. Let me sit back and just watch.
Godzilla had his own Deus Ex Machina in that one with his Regenerator G1. That was his.
I guess he can regrow what was damaged. So if you're going to take him out, if you're going to take out your clone, your big kaiju alien brother, you got to take him out in one fell swoop. So yeah.
Orga didn't have the best idea just ingesting Godzilla, knowing he spits fire and like, this couldn't go wrong in any way.
This is like a good beheader right there. So that's the one fell swoop thing.
Yes. It's got to be taken out one fell swoop. Yeah. And but yeah, that is one that is a great one to show people. That's why I think people should bring a friend to see Godzilla 2000 in the theaters, because that is that perfect Godzilla movie. If you miss the human story, it's okay. It's a lot of just exposition, but the monster action is great. Visual effects were all right. The suitamation's good, but man, that CGI. Whenever I watch it with anyone, I'm just like, just ignore this part. He's swimming in the water. Just it was 2000, and somebody.
The water was different then. The water was just different then.
Everything.
It wasn't even 2000 yet. It was still in the. It was like just turning. Yeah. It was 99 when they did that. So
very true. Yeah. We hadn't learned, or at least they hadn't learned much more than the CGI that you could probably do at home. So it's wow. Other than that, it's still a great Godzilla movie to see in theaters. And up against the Tucson Kaiju Festival, I imagine we'll be all of us quite busy up to that point. So understandably, we all may not get the chance to see it in theaters, but we're not going to interrupt -1, and we're not going to interrupt Godzilla X Kong. So that will be very cool, to see. And of course, all of us getting together and hanging out as kaiju fans and just geeking out on all things that we, absorb. That's Godzilla and all his other monsters. Wonder if we could see Orga do a rematch with Godzilla again on the big screen. Yep. He's gonna do that. Alex, I appreciate you being our one and only commenter in the chat. If you're out there, like, subscribe, all of those great things that we've got. Other information that you would encourage people to go to the Kaiju Festival, any other words of encouragement to get people to go there? What should be really the reason they should go?
The reason that you should go to the Tucson Kaiju Festival is basically it's just going to be fun. This festival was created by me back in 2019, and that turnout was more than I could have imagined, because I put that together. Me and Raj put that together less than 6 months prep time to get everything straightened away. And we still probably had close to 500 people. And that was just from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. It wasn't even a whole day. It was just an evening. So I'm hoping now that we have a full day, we have a little bit bigger of a spot. And, we're going to have a lot more vendors than we did the first time. But we're just going to have just as much fun with the panels, with the trivia contests, with prizes, giveaways. Again, everything is walking in the door. It doesn't charge you nothing. Totally free. Come hang out with us. Have just a good, fun time. As this develops and grows, I hope in the future, of course, all that might change. Might eventually have to, charge admission and stuff like that. But it won't be anything crazy expensive if down the road. But that's why you should just come, soak it all in. Enjoy it. Why, because that's the reason I did it. I did it, and that's why I've done it now for 2019 and this year. It's just been free. I'm not charging anybody for the table spaces. I'm not charging anybody to get in, and that's because I just want to see everybody have a good time. I want to see everybody succeed. That's all I want. This festival, convention, whatever you want to call it, is by a fan me, and it's for the fans, everybody else. And that's just what I want. I just want everybody to be happy. That's all it is.
And when you talked about the 2019, talking about how it was bigger than you had expected. In fact, you got, I think, even some news coverage at that time, right? Do you have any idea of the numbers that you had there?
If I had to take a ballpark guess, and this is what everybody has said, we probably had over 400, maybe close to 500 people that whole evening, just in and out traffic.
Very
and
nice.
everybody pretty much sold out of everything they had as far as artwork, and so it was just fantastic.
Awesome. And do you have any special thank yous, shout outs, and other details that you want to make sure that gets out there?
I just want to give big thanks to my wife. She's been very supportive through all of this. You know, when she signed up for the relationship with me and signed that marriage certificate, she knew what she was getting herself into with everything you see behind me and more. And, you know, I just couldn't have asked, you know, God for a better, you know, partner in life than my wife. And so she's just been very supportive and just been a great person all the way around. Yosh, big thanks to you for taking on the task of the poster this year. Thank you very much for this. Nick, thank you for just having us on the Monster Report, you know, being able to talk about this, to help promote it. You know, thanks for coming and supporting the Tucson Kaiju Festival. Really appreciate it. Just all my family and friends for everything that they've involved, you know, themselves with. You know, Alex doing all the digital stuff and the little stop motion, you know, shorts and all that digital stuff that I don't have any access to do myself. Thank you for all of that. Thank you to Bookmans for letting us have the space and, you know, doing this for a day. And hopefully it's a good enough turnout. Who knows? Maybe they'll immediately want to sign us up for next year. And who knows? It could turn into more days.
All right. Yes.
I just got to thank everybody for the continued support. And again, if you want to continue to, you know, if you want me to continue to do the Tucson Kaiju Festival, the turnout is pretty much the battle done. You know, I just want to see people show up. I want to see people have fun. And if that is enough and there's enough of a crowd for it and everything like that, you can guarantee I will do my darndest to do this every year if possible.
Yes, and Bookmans, you talked about, that venue being allowing us to have this there, and I hope it's a blessing to them as well for the foot traffic and the exposure that they're going to get out of this, and you know, maybe possibly that every year that they would possibly allow this at their venue. So that is a big shout out to Bookmans for, you know, opening up their area there for us to have this. I just hope we blow the walls off of it. You know, that.
Yeah.
Well, then they won't invite us back.
Have to build bigger. That's what it is. All right. I'm going to give Everett a break here. Yosh, I think you got some shout outs and some just plug away. Where can people follow you, find your artwork out there online, and hear all the news that you've got?
All right. All right. Well, thank you. And as always, thank you for having us. Everett, thank you. Thanks for being a friend. Thanks for, I'm like looking up this way because your screen's above mine. I'm like, hey man.
Wrong direction. That mirror effect.
Right.
There we go.
Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you. Right. Thank you for being a friend, and thank you also for commissioning me to do this stuff. Thanks for trusting in my skills and my drive to do it. Thanks for trusting me, man. And it's been a joy to build this and to paint, to know you, to talk back and forth about stuff. Like it's an honor, and thank you for, also giving me a space to vent. All of these things, they're hard to come by, I think, in this world, in terms of conventions, and it's really nice to have a homegrown convention built by someone I trust and feel like I'm helping build the community too by being there. So yeah, and as always, a big shout out to the people who care about me. My partner in life forever, Catherine. You're watching. I love you. And you have been an amazing support to my art in terms of, knowing the late hours I work, knowing what I put in, and just being a great compadre. And speaking of my partner, she's also a writer. And one of my big projects this year is we're in the process of finishing the formatting for her book of short stories, which are horror, sci-fi, fantasy. And I did the cover work and the interior illustrations for those. And so that's coming out soon. So for people who are interested in checking out what I do, My name here on the screen at Leaf Claw Studios. That's my handle for TikTok, for here on YouTube, and let's see, Instagram as well. On Facebook, I just go by, I have Leaf Claw Studios, but I don't use it much because it just makes more sense for, you know, my 1,000 friends to just see when I post something there. So, you know, but Yosh Reyes is my name. So again, thank you all. And a big shout out to anyone I may have forgotten, but thank you. And thank you to Bookmans. Yes, yes, thank you.
Excellent.
And
right.
Yosh, before, sorry, Nick, but to cut in there, Yosh, don't forget that Yosh's artwork for the poster was Bob Eggleton approved.
You're kidding.
That's true. That's true.
Bob Eggleton chimed in on it, and he was blown away by it.
In caps.
In caps. Nice, nice. Yeah, Everett, no, the spotlight's still yours, brother. So take it away. What's new with your channel, and where can they find you, and what can they expect?
I forgot one last thing. I'm sorry. My partner, Catherine, the writer, she is at Demi-Urgent Creative. That is her stuff for the book, and I didn't want to leave before mentioning that. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Well, you see the name on the screen. I am GodzillaFanFreaks. I've been doing content creation for a little over 10 years now. I've had GodzillaFanFreaks, and just been, you know, pumping out content. I do figure reviews of Godzilla. Sometimes I bleach off into other things, but Godzilla and Masters of the Universe is kind of really where I focus my two priorities on, and other kaiju. But GodzillaFanFreaks on YouTube. I have a Facebook page for GodzillaFanFreaks, and of course I have an Instagram account for GodzillaFanFreaks. So on all those different platforms, you'll see, of course, the videos and reviews and stuff on YouTube, and Facebook and Instagram. You'll see me post probably maybe a meme here and there. You'll see me post pictures of my collection or my works that I've been doing, updates on Tucson Kaiju Festival stuff, all that good stuff on those platforms. And that's how you can find me and what I do. As far as what I have coming up, I do have my Titanic Creations GORGO figure review. That is all done, ready to go. I'm not sure if I'm going to probably, you know, I might actually upload it maybe Friday. I think that'd be a good time to pump out that review. So that's going to be coming, is Titanic Creations GORGO figure review is my next video that I will be doing. So lots of fun. It was a fun in-depth review. I haven't had a video review go almost 30 minutes in a long time.
On a tiny little 6-inch figure, but he's got a lot of accessories.
Yes.
Which is awesome. And I was going to say, do you have any live streams coming up?
As of right now, things are still kind of in the dark. I want to say if I don't hear anything tomorrow on my new job, I might just do an emergency broadcast Kaiju Chill O'Clock episode 52 on Friday. Just so I have, you know, just another thing pumped out, you know. But we'll see. I don't know. Everything's up in the air right now.
Understandable. Yep. It's a transition in life, but yeah, the best thing to do is follow you on the Facebook and Instagram page, and of course here on YouTube, and make sure that you're seeing if that notification pops up to see if there's a live stream coming up, and of course for the reviews. So awesome. Looking forward to seeing that and seeing you both at Tucson Kaiju Festival. And I'm not going to be the only one who's flying in. I know that ZillaFan85 will be flying in just as well as I am. So you're going to get, people showing up from all over the country, which is awesome. And so I'd encourage people to check it out. Go if you can find the opportunity to go on Godzilla Day and hang out with some awesome kaiju fans that are out there in a smaller, intimate convention and get together that is just a chance to geek out and enjoy everything that we geek out on. We're huge fans of, so that is awesome. And the mingling together of the content creators, I just can't get enough of that. That is one of the biggest things that I live for on this channel, and that is why you're going to go out there, everyone who's watching, to like, subscribe, comment, all of those great things. Hit that notification bell, get the Monster Report over 100,000 subscribers. And it's because of you guys that is possible. I appreciate it. Everyone here at Monster HQ here appreciate it. My kids, my son is actually working on his YouTube channel as we speak, and it is called the Mini Monster Report. He is so excited and pumped to start content creation, mooching a little off of the ideas of the old man here. So, yeah, but he will be live and in person at the Kaiju Festival as well in Tucson. So you'll get to meet the Mini Monster Report. And so find me on Facebook, Instagram, X. Yes, X, Elon's X, formerly known as Twitter, or now I should call it Twix. I've heard it called that. That kind of works. So,
well, you know, one thing right about that, they do need a take two.
Take two. One's never enough. So take two, it's Twix. So yeah, you can find me at the Monster Report at all those handles out there, monsterreport.com with one R. And of course, here on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, all those great things. This has been an episode of the Monster Report Live with Yosh, with Everett, and we will catch you guys on another episode of the Monster Report Live. And thank you so much, and we will catch you next time.